Hello, Harshini and I have prepared a TED Talk on child labor and why we should be more aware of it. Our presentation won't be like the documentaries that play at midnight on TV or like the obviously fake commercials that you see on TV that take your money and use it for something else. The purpose of our presentation is to inform you about what's happening in a fun way. Take it away, Harshini.
Have you ever heard the phrase, before you criticize men, walk them out in their shoes? We can do one better. We can walk the whole life of a child in going through child labor in the form of a whiteboard.
Confused, just wait a little bit.
You may be wondering, what's the issue with child labor? Kids can keep busy while earning some extra cash. This may be true if all kids work at a lemonade stand. Working at a lemonade stand is a summer job. Kids involved in child labor work in jobs that are mentally, physically, and morally damaging. So child labor are in Eritrea, Somalia, and Democratic Republic of Congo. There are also some traces of child labor in Canadian factories, but that is hidden. Now we'll be telling you the story of a 10-year-old Somali boy named Haib who has to participate in child labor to survive. Child labor is an issue that many people are not aware of, and to stop it we need to become more aware of how our actions affect the children who are stuck in this continuous cycle of poverty. Not many people are aware that child labor is an indirect result of our demands here in Canada. I can admit to winning the geography lottery. I mean free healthcare, high literacy rates, and maple syrup. Also, if I want something, it can be anything. I'll be able to get in a few days' time, or maybe even sooner. This may be my case, but it's not the case of a 10-year-old Somali boy named Haib. Have you ever wondered why everything is so easily accessible to us? Why it's so easy for me to go to a store and pick up a carpet or a pencil or anything from a store? It's because we have large corporations shipping the materials from different countries. Large corporations from developed countries such as Canada or the United States enter developing countries and access the resources the people who live in the developing countries cannot access due to lack of technology. The developing country receives little to no profit from this resource takeover. And it may just be categorized as theft. Since the people do not have the money or technology to access the resources, they fail to create a trade surplus for themselves. Since they are unable to create a steady economy through trade, the government ends up poor. If the government is poor, the people are poor. These same corporations who take advantage of the developing countries are setting up factories in the same countries that they are basically stealing from. As the citizens are now desperate for money, the children are sent along with their parents to work in factories that generate little to no income. This is where Haib comes in. Remember him? A 10-year-old boy who knew nothing that was coming to him. Every day, Haib wakes up around 4 a.m. Yeah, I can't believe it either. He wakes up and eats nothing. He can't afford to. He gives the little bit of bread he has to his little sister. He says a solemn goodbye to his mother and sets off with his father to a textile factory. There, Haib has to work in hazardous conditions, awaiting his meal, which will be given at noon. In these types of factories, children are exposed to over 10,000 harmful synthetic chemicals that are being released within and outside of the factory. These chemicals can cause children to be more prone to develop asthma, skin disease, and fatal injuries. Now Haib's job. He is a doffer. A doffer is someone who removes spindles of cotton or wool from a spinning frame and replacing the frames with new one. This is Haib's job from 4 a.m. in the morning to 10 at night. Once Haib reaches the age of 12, he will be forced to move large bales of cotton or wool with his father. He falls on the job, but he does not receive, nor does he ask for any help. If he falls, gets hurt, and complains, he will lose his job. That painful job is the only way to feed his little sister at home. All these machines begin to cause indoor and outdoor pollution. Indoor pollution causes Haib to develop respiratory infections. It is now 12 o'clock. Haib is given 2 small pieces of bread and a glass of water. This would be his only meal for the day. Sadly, as this water has been stored in this dirty factory, if he drinks it, he's more likely to experience several diarrheal infections. At this point, that is the last thing he needs. Now the outdoor pollution causes for pollutants to be mixed with air, surrounding water, and land. This leaves the surrounding village in more of a mess. Along with environmental impacts, there is no real benefit for the GDP of the country because the country itself is receiving a small amount of profit from the sales that occur in the developed countries. The problem is that we, as the developed country citizens, are demanding for more products. Now you may be wondering, when does Haib go to school? The answer is he doesn't. The only way Haib can survive is to work. He doesn't have the time to go to school. The only problem with this is Habe's future is in peril. If he does not receive an education, he would have less of a chance of him getting a good job in the future. Without a well-paying job, there is no money. As a result, Habe would have to continue working these factory jobs for the rest of his life. He will continue to live in poverty. It's a vicious cycle. Corporations have this plan named planned obsolescence. Planned obsolescence is the act of creating products so they'll be thrown away in a short period of time. This would encourage the buyer to buy another one of the product. This means we buy it, it breaks, we demand for more, and those children in Somalia, Eritrea, and Bangladesh all work long hours. This is one of the causes for mass consumption in developed countries. Although Canada is very clear on not having any child labor, we do encourage it indirectly with our imports. For example, in 2013, Canada invested $185 million worth of coffee imported from Guatemala. These coffee beans were picked by children. $10 million worth of clothes were imported from Bangladesh, a country known for child labor and its harsh factory conditions. There was also a 2,368 increase in footwear exports from Cambodia. You guessed it, this is footwear made by children. Habe is stuck in this never-ending cycle of poverty. What can we do to help him?
Habe is stuck in this cycle of poverty. We can't just pretend we never heard anything that Harshini just told us. We need to do something. The question is, what? After using some brain power, we have decided that creating unions and building schools are two good solutions to solving this problem. There are both pros and cons for both solutions, but since we like to be optimistic, we are going to call them influences. Let's start with the solution to create unions. Now, what is a union? A union is a group of people who all come together for a similar cause and try to make a difference in the world. These unions would not only help to raise awareness, but they would also help to raise funds for these children to receive food, clean water, and better shelter. After that, you should create a website. This website can be used to inform people and for fundraising purposes. The next step is to begin fundraising and apply for a grant from the government. If you have everything, plan is clear and informative to the government will provide some money for your cause with no interest rate on it. If this is successful, the next step is to begin an online fundraiser now. Now it's important to begin our search through factories and rural areas for child laborers. Now it's the difficult part. We need to bring awareness to the people of the developing country that child labor is wrong. This will be difficult because they might have different beliefs. If educating in an area is successful, they as well as us will begin to put strain on the government to start creating stricter laws. If enough strain with enough effort is put, law will be created where only citizens over the age of 16 to 18 can work in dangerous and dirty jobs. First, we need to account for the environmental influence, and in this case, the environmental influence is space. We need space in the developed and developing countries for infrastructure. The next influence we need to follow is the economic and political influence. These go together because first we are asking for a grant from the government and then building infrastructure using that money. Then we also need permission to enter those countries with our plan in mind. Now that we have all that covered, we need to become aware of the social influences such as religion and starvation. There are both pros and cons to spreading awareness through unions. A pro is unions generally do help to inspire people to make a difference. Unions create funds, and this will help to create a steady food and water supply at households. A positive outcome of beginning unions is people becoming more aware of how hazardous child labor is to a child's future, and the government beginning to create laws around what age you can work dangerous jobs at. There are also cons to creating unions. Some of these cons are violence and strikes may occur. Along with all of this, there is a severe cost to be paid, and the grant might not be enough. Possible negative outcomes of creating unions are loss for jobs for others because factories will be shut down. If half of the workforce is children and half of the workforce is taken away, the factory would have no choice but to shut down. Therefore, unions could help to lift children out of poverty by connecting people, spreading awareness, and providing food and water to the families and children who need it most. Most of these are short-term, though. How do we make sure that children don't end up going back to factory jobs? The answer to that is education. Our second solution is to give education to the children. Our steps of action for this solution are to partner with the union and the government of Canada. The union will be able to help start fundraising. After we have funds in place, we are going to need to apply for another grant from the government of Canada. This grant will help to pay for any infrastructure and travel expenses. The next step is to get permission from the government of a developing country. This will be slightly difficult as the government may oppose to the reason why you want to build the schools. Once the school is built, we need to continue raising funds so we can renovate the school once every few years. We also need to purchase books, pencils, and other school supplies to provide to the children. We are going to need to find a volunteer teacher that would teach the students. We need to account for the environmental influences, space, and political influence of tough governments. We need the space to build schools, and we need permission to build the schools on that space. We need funds to create schools, and then we need for the community to agree that sending their children to school would be more useful than sending their children to work. Some pros of this solution are there is a better chance of the child having a better job in the future. A positive outcome of this solution is children stop working in dangerous factories full-time and start going to school. Some cons to this solution are it takes time, money, and the cooperation of the community. The community also may choose not to send their children to school because they need the money to survive. Therefore, building schools provides the children with a long-term plan of education and a better chance at receiving a well-paying job. But how long do we have to wait to see these results?
That was a lot of information, don't you think so, Kathy?
It was, and now we can say this. Kate is in trouble because of mass consumption in developing countries. He's not able to attend school because he's busy working to help feed his mother, his father, and his little sister. He doesn't go to school, which means he's most likely going to be working factory jobs for the rest of his life. Kate is able to receive an education and then realize in the future, if he does, he will have a well-paying job. He wouldn't have to worry about his own little sister working in factory jobs, and he'll be able to support himself and his family.
That's all really far in the future. What are you going to do to make sure all children, including him, are well off now? How are they going to survive without working?
For that reason, we believe that creating unions and spreading awareness is a better solution for both us humans and the environment. Creating unions can start helping the children out now rather than helping them out in 15 years. We can use the unions to create freshwater wells and to start community farms. This will provide the families with the food and water that they need. This will also shut down many factories. The shutting down of factories will decrease the amount of pollutants in the air, the water, and the streets of the developing countries. For all of these reasons, we believe that creating unions and spreading awareness is a better solution.
Thank you.